Ancient Egyptian gardening secrets that transform your indoor plants. Backyard garden. Hello friends, welcome back to Golden Garden. If you're here today, chances are you're someone who loves plants deeply, someone who keeps scrolling through garden photos for inspiration, someone who worries whether their houseplants are getting enough light, or someone who dreams of turning a small balcony or backyard into a living sanctuary of green. And maybe, despite your love for plants, you've also felt that quiet frustration. The yellowing leaves, the soil that dries too fast, or the fear that you're just not good at keeping things alive. But what if I told you there's a way to make your plants not just survive, but thrive? Even if you live in a hot apartment, a dry climate, or a busy life with little time to spare. Today we're going to explore ancient desert wisdom that can transform the way you care for your indoor plants and garden spaces. Before we begin this journey together, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Garden, because your greener, calmer, more resilient home starts right here. Relearning the desert mindset. Why ancient wisdom still matters. When we look back at how ancient Egyptians nurtured life in the desert, we're not just studying history, we're rediscovering a mindset that modern plant lovers desperately need. You and I live in a world of quick fixes, bottled fertilizers, and endless advice, telling us to water more, feed more, do more. But if you've ever felt overwhelmed by your own plants, that isn't your fault. Most of us have been taught to fight nature instead of working with it. The Egyptians did the opposite. They slowed down. They observed. They trusted natural rhythms. And somehow, in one of the driest places on Earth, they grew abundance for thousands of years. This is where their wisdom connects directly to you, the busy plant parent who forgets a watering day, the balcony gardener battling harsh sun, the indoor grower watching soil dry faster than expected. Their approach offers relief, calm, and a way to garden without constant stress. So as we travel deeper into these ancient methods, take a breath. You're not here to learn harder techniques. You're here to learn smarter ones. And once you understand this desert mindset, everything else begins to fall into place. Deep soak hydration. Learning to water the way the desert teaches. When we think about watering our plants, most of us fall into the same habit. Little sips here and there, a quick sprinkle before rushing to work, or a hesitant pour because we're afraid of overwatering. But the desert teaches something entirely different. The Egyptians understood that plants don't need constant attention. They need meaningful nourishment. One deep drink that reaches the roots, settles the soil, and gives the plant a reason to grow stronger. Imagine your indoor plants or backyard beds experiencing that same kind of renewal. Instead of shallow watering that barely wets the surface, you give them a slow, deep soak, one that encourages roots to travel downward, anchoring themselves into cooler, more stable layers of soil. It's the difference between a plant that panics at every dry afternoon and one that stands resilient through heat waves and busy weeks when you forget to water. This ancient rhythm fits perfectly with your modern life. If you're someone who often wonders why your soil dries too quickly or why your plants never seem to develop those thick, confident roots, this shift is your turning point. Deep watering isn't just a technique, it's a mindset. A promise that you'll give your plants what truly matters, rather than what's convenient in the moment. And once you start practicing it, you'll see your green spaces respond with a calm, steady strength you may have never seen before. Targeted watering. Giving the right plants the right attention. As we move deeper into this ancient way of thinking, there's another lesson that feels surprisingly modern. Not every plant in your home or garden needs the same level of care. The Egyptians understood this long before we had moisture meters or drip systems. They knew which plants were thirsty, which were resilient, and which deserved a little extra help during the hottest days. And in a world where many of us water out of habit or guilt, this insight can be transformative. Think about your own collection. Maybe you're the kind of plant lover who waters everything at once to save time. Or maybe you hover over certain struggling leaves, unsure if you're helping or making things worse. But ancient wisdom teaches a gentler approach: prioritize. Your deeper-rooted, drought-tolerant plants don't need constant attention. Your tender herbs, leafy greens, or young plantings might. And when you start giving water with intention rather than routine, something shifts. Your plants respond with new confidence, and you begin to feel less overwhelmed and more in control. This technique isn't about doing more, it's about doing smarter. And as you watch certain plants thrive with just a little focused care, you'll realize the Egyptians weren't just managing water. They were managing energy, time, and peace of mind. Let that same ease flow into your own garden space as we continue this journey. Building living soil, layering organic matter for long-term growth. Now that we've talked about water, let's shift our focus to something even more foundational, the soil itself. If you've ever struggled with plants that seem healthy one month and exhausted the next, chances are the problem isn't the leaves, it's what lies beneath them. The Egyptians knew this deeply. They understood that soil wasn't just dirt. It was a living, breathing system that needed to be fed, renewed, and respected. Imagine your own pots, garden beds, or backyard patches as tiny ecosystems. Each one depends on layers, leaves breaking down, compost adding warmth, tiny organisms transforming waste into nourishment. And just like the Nile deposited fresh silt year after year, you can give your soil the same gift by adding organic matter regularly. A handful of compost here, a sprinkle of dried leaves there, even the stems and trimmings from last season work gently back into the ground. When you build your soil this way, something remarkable happens. Your plants stop acting fragile. They grow thicker stems, richer colors, and stronger root networks. You won't need as much fertilizer and you'll worry less about sudden declines. Instead of constantly trying to fix your plants, you'll be supporting the environment that helps them thrive naturally. And as we continue uncovering this ancient wisdom, remember, healthy soil isn't created in a day. It's built slowly, lovingly, layer by layer, just like a garden that's meant to last a lifetime. Growing in harmony, mixing plants to create a thriving mini ecosystem as we move forward. There's a beautiful secret the Egyptians practiced that today's gardeners often overlook. Plants are not meant to live alone. In the wild, nothing grows in isolation. Everything touches, overlaps, supports, and shelters something else. And when you bring that principle into your home or backyard, your plants suddenly begin to behave differently, more alive, more resilient, more cooperative. Imagine your indoor space or garden bed as a tiny community. Tall plants offering shade to the delicate ones below. Ground covers keeping moisture in the soil so your thirstier plants don't dry out so quickly. Herbs tucked between larger leaves, releasing scents that discourage pests. This is how ancient growers farmed for thousands of years, not with rows and empty spaces, but with layers, textures, and companionship. And it's a perfect solution for you, especially if you're someone with limited space, intense sunlight in one corner of the room, or a balcony that dries out faster than you'd like. When you combine plants with different needs and strengths, they balance each other out. A trailing vine can shelter the soil around a fruiting plant. A moisture-loving fern can increase humidity for a tropical companion. Everything works together quietly and efficiently. When your garden becomes a small ecosystem instead of a collection of separate pots, you'll feel the difference too. The space feels fuller, calmer, more natural, as if nature has finally stepped inside your home and taken a seat among your plants. And from here, the journey becomes even more fascinating as we explore what happens beneath the surface. Resetting your soil, flushing out hidden salts for healthier roots. Now let's turn our attention to something most gardeners don't realize is slowly harming their plants, the silent buildup of salts in the soil. Whether you grow indoors or outdoors, whether you use tap water or fertilizers, minerals accumulate over time. They hide in the potting mix, creeping upward as water evaporates, eventually stressing roots and causing leaves to yellow or brown at the edges. But here's the part the ancient Egyptians understood brilliantly. Sometimes the soil just needs a clean slate. They use seasonal flooding to wash away what the desert left behind. And while you may not have a river flowing through your living room or backyard, you can still give your plants that same refreshing reset. Imagine taking each pot, placing it in the sink or shower, and letting water run slowly through until everything unwanted is carried away. It's simple, almost meditative, and the impact is immediate. The roots breathe easier. The soil feels lighter. The plant begins to recover in ways you might not expect. If you're someone who's ever wondered why your plant seems tired despite proper care, or why new leaves emerge small or pale, this is often the missing step. A seasonal flush can revive soil that's been quietly struggling under layers of buildup. And in outdoor beds, a heavy soak before good drainage does the same, resetting the earth underneath your garden. This practice isn't dramatic or complicated. It's a gentle reminder that even soil needs moments of renewal. And as we move forward, you'll see how this simple act sets the stage for a garden that grows stronger year after year, letting perennials lead. Building a garden that improves every year as we move into the heart of ancient wisdom, there's one principle that can completely reshape the way you garden. Let long-lived plants become the foundation of your space. The Egyptians built their gardens around perennials, trees, vines, and hardy plants that stayed with them through seasons, storms, and shifting sands. And for you, whether you're tending a bright living room corner or a small backyard, this approach brings stability and ease like nothing else. Think about it this way. When you rely only on short-lived plants, you start from zero every time a season changes or a plant fades. But when you anchor your space with reliable perennials, strong indoor palms, sturdy ficus trees, resilient outdoor shrubs, or fruiting plants that return year after year, you create a garden that grows wiser with time. These plants shade the soil, create natural humidity, and offer structure that makes the whole space feel alive even on quiet days. And if you're someone who gets busy, forgets to water now and then, or feels overwhelmed by constant replanting, perennials are your greatest friends. They're forgiving, they're steady. They reward patience instead of perfection. With every year that passes, they root deeper, grow fuller, and carry your garden forward with a kind of gentle strength that annual plants can't match. When you choose a few dependable, long-lasting plants to guide the rest, your home or garden begins to feel grounded, almost like it's developing a personality of its own. And as we move into the next part of this journey, you'll see how creating the right environment around these plants transforms everything that grows beside them, creating your microclimate, shaping a space where plants feel at home now that our perennial anchors are in place. It's time to look at the invisible force that determines whether your plants merely survive or truly flourish, the microclimate you create around them. The ancient Egyptians built walls, arranged trees, and shaped their gardens to soften heat, block harsh winds, and hold precious moisture. And even in your modern home or backyard, you can do the very same thing on a smaller, simpler scale. Think about the places where your plants already seem happiest. Maybe it's that bright corner where the morning sun feels gentle instead of harsh, or the shaded side of your balcony where the breeze is calm. These small differences in temperature, light, and airflow can change everything. By placing taller plants to shield the delicate ones, using curtains to filter intense sunlight, or grouping humidity-loving varieties together, you begin to sculpt an environment that feels stable and nurturing. Even outdoors, a single trellis, a cluster of shrubs, or a lightweight shade cloth can transform a struggling garden bed into a thriving sanctuary. And if you're someone dealing with dry air from heaters, strong afternoon sun through large windows, or unpredictable winds on a terrace, these subtle adjustments will make your plants feel protected, almost as if they're living in their own sheltered oasis. Creating microclimates isn't about perfection. It's about noticing, listening, and responding. When you begin shaping the environment to support your plants, rather than forcing your plants to adapt to the environment, you tap into the same wisdom that allowed gardens to bloom in deserts. And with that awareness, we're ready to bring everything together. Working with nature, bringing every lesson together for a lasting garden. As we arrive at the final piece of this journey, it becomes clear that the Egyptians weren't relying on one single technique. They were weaving together a philosophy. And that philosophy is something every modern plant lover can embrace. Work with nature, not against it. When you step back and look at your home, your balcony, or your garden through that lens, everything you've learned begins to fit together like a gentle rhythm. Think of how deep watering encourages your plants to root with confidence, how targeted care keeps you from feeling overwhelmed, how layering organic matter creates soil that grows richer every month, how mixing plants forms a tiny ecosystem full of life and balance, how flushing the soil renews it, how perennials offer stability and ease, and how microclimates turn ordinary spaces into nurturing refuges where plants feel truly at home. All of this adds up to something quietly powerful. A garden that doesn't demand constant struggle or worry. A space that grows with you, adapts with you, and forgives your busy days or imperfect routines. And if you're someone who has ever doubted your ability to grow plants well, let this be your reassurance. You don't need to fight nature to succeed. You only need to understand it, respect it, and let it guide the way. And now, with these ancient principles revived in modern soil, there's only one thing left to do. Help your garden become a place that thrives not just for a season but for many years ahead. Growing a garden that lasts just like the ancients in the end, what the Egyptians left us is far more than a set of techniques. It's a reminder that thriving gardens are built on patience, observation, and gentle partnership with nature. And whether you're nurturing a single houseplant on your desk or transforming a small backyard into your personal oasis, these timeless principles can help you create a space that feels steady, alive, and deeply connected to you. Because your garden isn't just soil and leaves, it's a reflection of your rhythm, your care, and your desire to bring a little more life into your everyday world. So as you step away from this video and look around your home, take a moment to imagine what your plants could become with these ancient lessons woven into their roots. A calmer space, a greener corner, a living reminder that growth is always possible, even in the toughest conditions. And the best part, you don't need perfect skills or constant effort. You only need willingness and the belief that you too can build a garden that stands the test of time. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these Egyptian-inspired ideas are you excited to try first? Have you already used any of them without realizing it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read everyone. And if you found inspiration here today, don't forget to like this video and follow Golden Garden for more timeless wisdom to help your plants and your confidence grow stronger every week.